this evening, rejecting completely the notion that Ghana was founded by one man. Whilst Kwame Nkrumah's contributions to our independence are undeniable and unassailable, it is important to acknowledge for our self-respect that the struggle for our nation's freedom was a collective effort.
This book, if I had continued, would have told you that J.B. Dankwa was standing in the crowd observing Kwame Nkrumah and others.
Appreciate what you have. How can people appreciate you from outside? It doesn't happen.
If you had been alive, you'd possibly be 107 years today. But you are people, some of them, in their lack of wisdom, chose to remove you from power. I apologize on their behalf.
Alright, let's get right into it, shall we? It seems disrespect is almost becoming a trendy word of the day when we talk about some of the greatest figures in our history. But hold on, aren't we supposed to be praising and honoring the heroes of our past, etching their legacies into a very soul of our nations? Well, that's where things get a little bit, let's say, contentious, and it's a conversation we really need to have. So here's a topic that's been sending shockwaves across Ghana and beyond. Actor Peter Adokyi did disappointment with how Ghana has been treating Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and oh boy, are his words a stirring echo of past observations. Peter Adokyi, a name you might know as synonymous with the formidable character he portrays on screen, has pointed out a stark reality that we can't ignore. It's like a scene from a movie where the hero, the one who struggled and the one who's fought valiantly, is suddenly brushed aside, forgotten by those who ought to remember him most. You see, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah isn't just any name in the honor of Ghana. He is the embodiment of our fight for freedom, a man who is to be respected. Yet here we are facing some hard truth. Admittedly, even former President Rawlings has foreseen this troubling trend, indicating that the disrespect towards Nkrumah was nothing new, especially from the NPP.
Nkrumah, while he was alive, he had his enemies. His enemies also saw him as an enemy to them. Yeah. Now, what happened? Many years later, one ago, Madam Fathia Nkrumah, the wife. Jana Akufo-Addo. Okra no coffee no Madam Fathia no coffee no or this shana akotodwem no motuem no afa handkerchief towel no yes sir oh super ama Madam Fathia na yesu ye nyina na ya dinuchi well na yesu oh go for to say or yani papa oh yesu ya fire hang yesu be you know go for a honey of fire spade no the tree hole next to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah no grave no coffin no that's or the tree grave no the Madam Fathia way sure. From that moment, that national monument that we built to honor that man became a family graveyard. You see how his grave was desecrated? Mills Mu, John Mu, you have chopped into the man's name. Now, what you said, when fine, one Nkrumah. Look at what his enemy pretended, so and so. Now, desecrate his national monument. You get it? Sani Kanyama, Muntiasia. Yeah, we were Mwamunim, Philip, And you're fair. Meaning, what? And you're fair. Compound is big. You could have dug 101 holes and put Madame Fatia also there. Build a 3 times the story building monument. You did not have to do that under the same monument under which Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was. It fooled all of you.
But when Rawlings was at the helm, what did he do? He showed reference, my people. A reference that seemed to have slipped away with the sand of time because he ensured that Nkrumah's final resting place was somewhere befitting of his legacy. He honored the man appropriately.
On this 32nd anniversary of Ghana's Republic Day, we are laying Dr. Nkrumah's remains to rest at the site of his greatest triumph.
Inside of which is as beautiful. No doubt the cheeks of Nkrumah himself and his...
Now we've got to ask ourselves, why does it feel like that honor is fading? Peter Adokyi sees it clear as day. A hero should be celebrated always. Think about it. In every story that moves us, there is one hero who stands tall, whose name we chant in admiration. For Adokyi, and I'm sure for many of us, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah is that towering hero in our narrative of Africa's triumph. Yet here we have a new curriculum that seems to be, how do I put it, sideline our hero. In class 1 history book in Ghana, the spotlight seemed to have shifted to Dr. J.B. Dankwa with hardly a whisper about Nkrumah's monumental contribution. Now hold up a minute. That's not the history I grew up with knowing, and I bet it's not what you remember either. Imagine this, a story where the central figure, the one who fought for the name of the dear nation, is just a footnote supporting someone else's chapter. That's the curveball being picked by the new curriculum, and it's setting off alarm bells across the country. It's all about the framing, folks, and this one seems like a frame without its most important picture. It's concerning when the narrative being shaped under the government led by Nana Akufo-Addo, who, mind you, happen to be related to J.B. Dankwa, starts looking like a subtle rewrite of our proud history. It's about time we address this, not just with a whispered conversation in the shadow, but out in the open where it can't be ignored. See, when Adokyi speaks of disrespect towards Nkrumah, it's more than just an opinion. It's an observation that strikes a chord with many who hold Nkrumah's legacy.
This evening, rejecting completely the notion that Ghana was founded by one man. Whilst Kwame Nkrumah's contributions to our independence are undeniable and unassailable, it is important to acknowledge for our self-respect that the struggle for our nation's freedom was a collective effort spanning several generations. The formation of the Aborigines Rights Protection Society, the British West African National Congress, jointly sponsored by Joseph Caister Hayford and Thomas Hutton Mills, the United Gold Coast Convention, the work of countless unsung heroes, and the tenacious spirit of our people all played vital parts in bringing us to freedom and independence. Kwame Nkrumah, with his charismatic visionary leadership, was undoubtedly a major actor in the final lap of our journey to independence. And that is why, despite the several unfortunate things that happened after independence under his watch, Parliament in 2019 decided to memorialize his date of birth as Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day, the only Ghanaian so far to be so honored in our history. His ability to galvanize the masses and articulate a clear vision for a free Ghana inspired many. However, it is essential to recognize that Kwame Nkrumah stood on the shoulders of past leaders. The groundwork laid by the Aborigines Rights Protection Society, the British West African National Congress, the United Gold Coast Convention, and many other organizations and individuals provided the foundation upon which Kwame Nkrumah built the Convention People's Party, CPP. And indeed, that is why he was careful to associate the name of his new party with that of the convention. The contributions of the leaders before him were instrumental, as is natural in the continuum of history, in shaping the political landscape that facilitated Kwame Nkrumah's rise to prominence. Even though comparisons may be invidious, it is worth recalling that George Washington, the victorious general of America's War of Independence from British colonial rule, and the first president of the United States of America, is not described as the founder of the United States. The accolade of the founding fathers is reserved to the group of 56 persons who assembled at the Philadelphia Convention of the Continental Congress to write and promulgate the Constitution of the United States of America. August 4th is a day that should remind us of the values that have guided us through the years: respect for the rule of law, observance of human rights, including individual freedom, and the pursuit of a free democratic society. These values are a reflection of the vision of those who founded the Ghanaian nation and have been crucial in shaping our national character.
This book, if I had continued, would have told you that J.B. Dankwa was standing in the crowd observing Kwame Nkrumah and others. Again, Nkrumah gave us our national flag. You will read that he and that Madam Pete-Edochie-Nkrumah, they put together and then they made the flag. Please, it was not anybody but Nkrumah who looked at the flag. And the woman even said, let me put in so many stars like the American flag. And Nkrumah said, I need only one, the black star. And then the national anthem, Philip Beho was commissioned by Nkrumah to do it. And then the national crest, Monique was commissioned by Nkrumah to do it. And then what again? The name, I have said it, and then on 6th March, Kwame Nkrumah mentioned Ghana. J.B. Dankwa was not there to give any support. Buzia did not appear, even though he was opposition leader, because he had written to the British not to give us independence. He was so scared to be on the podium that day, even though it should have been a national affair. And so, if from class 1, F.K. Boa and all others, including even Kwame Nkrumah's arch enemy, Dubois, would tell us in history that Kwame Nkrumah was the founder of Ghana. And our president, whom I admire so much, is telling us that he was not the founder. I believe it will be a very much of an abuse of language.
The reason why most performers from outside Africa don't come to Africa is because they don't get encouraged. I can tell you that, because I trained in the BBC and I know what I'm talking about. Well, having said that, most of those who spoke earlier seem to paint a very bleak future for all of us, because they did not mention that in the past we have done very well. I'm going to tell you a lot of things that you don't know or that you don't wish to remember. First of all, what I'm going to tell you now is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing like the truth. You people know that there was a time, if you said from any part of this continent and you went outside the country and you introduce yourself, they will ask you what part of Ghana is that. Do you know that? But I should know that. If you went outside the country, they will ask you what part of Ghana have you come from. It is to tell you how popular Ghana was, because then if you saw a map of Ghana, you will see on that map of Ghana Kwame Nkrumah or Sajefo. And at that time, Jan was the director of sports. I thank all of you for this little opportunity to go back to history and to let you know that as Africa, we have contributed to the development of the outside world and our own continent. And I know that in due course, Africa will make more progress with what I am seeing here, because no other place qualifies to host this kind of occasion than Ghana. And to conclude, when Nasser was the president of Egypt and Nkrumah was the president of Ghana, it was a question of black uniting with the white up there in the north, and the wife of Nkrumah was the daughter of Nasser.
If you had been alive, you'd possibly be 107 years today. But your people, some of them, in their lack of wisdom, chose to remove you from power. I apologize on their behalf. They gave you only a few years to be present in this world. And during those few years that you are present in this world, you shook not only Ghana, but Africa so very fundamentally.
6. Ufri verse number 6 or Konwa. The Bible says something. Odian wajone ho.
Okwadufo kotati anchen. Hwena kwa ne hunu nyansa.
Kwadufo kotati anchen hwena kwa ne hunu de sue nyansa.
Ono no ni otitire.
Ose tatia oni president.
Opinion na sudifo bie.
Oni ohene woni kurom, oni MP, oni minister, oni assemblyman. Tatia no ka ne ho asem no.
Nanso siesie ne duane hu.
More president, more cabinet, more regional ministers, more ambassadorial ministers, more MCEs, DCEs, more. You don't know how to sweep your streets. You don't know how to keep what you are building. Obi study the comparison by a church here the you. Can one found the compare will be out there. Anybody who wants to win election in this country, if you disrespect Nkrumah, it will not be well with you. I'm telling you the truth and the fact very straight that you can't compare yourself to any work that Nkrumah did. Don't compare my think and kind of and Nkrumah. I'm telling you, this one is a legacy to this nation. People see this guy like one of the angels that God gave this guy. Toilet is here. Sorry, me uncle. Sorry, drama no more. Drama pa muntimi bi. Akabi de me hunu ye no obi ye drama na na drama kasama. Let your work speak for you, not your bragging. I say, what the home beto Nkrumah? No, Nkrumah no need to pay. Nobody so far. From Second Republic, Third Republic, Fourth Republic, nobody. Imagine come about 2 weeks ago. The Imagine said. Wouldn't Yansa Kurano, concrete road, a 2 now Kotaria, Yamfako Tantan. As well as only 2 weeks. Joint news reported, city news reported. Highway Swako and one of the quota air patch. As well as I'm doing some Yansa, but no, they didn't. Didn't Yansa Kurano said, Coin 2 near Tare. The Jumutagana was often new. One man made Juma. You may be a dancer, some for you may be unshared inside. Dear one man made Juma in any chili, may you know. Dimim tears here, dear old dream. And medical catcher or some men found so MPP and this men found. Or party, men, you know, Mamma may be, Mamma be an in the Ubiar, enemies room. Yeah, God, won't hear it. I wouldn't hear say, yeah, be a speaker to America. Some we are
The question now is, how do we respond? Are we going to be passive viewers in this chapter of our history, or are we going to be the one who stand up and say, not on our watch? The legacy of our heroes must be preserved with the truth and reference it deserves. So let's not just talk about it, let's be about it. And you, the viewer, what do you think? I want to hear from you in the comment below. Is the statement of Nkrumah's legacy in our current curriculum a mistake, or is it a sign of the time? How do we balance the tales of our past with the perspectives of today? Your voice matters, your opinion shapes the dialogue. So after you hit that like on this video, which I know you're about to do, take a moment and let's start a conversation. How can we ensure that our nation heroes are never forgotten? Remember, it's not just about making noise, it's about making a difference.
Comment, like it, subscribe it. I don't want to photo or my catch us the latest any exclusive via beto from Nubinya. Na bwana mabiasa no etimi akonkanya kupon show na onyo kese eso benisa ete amamen.